Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, and welcome to a Shenmue Dojo video. Hot off the press, over the last few hours, we've had a new interview with Yu Suzuki. This has been conducted by Nintendo Life. Makes sense given that Shenmue 3 Enhanced is making its debut on that platform. What we're going to do is go through the interview itself, pick up some key points, and also look at the screenshots that they've just released. So there's 3 new screenshots there, and what they've done is comparisons between obviously the original game and Shenmue 3 Enhanced and what that's going to look like. So we're going to do all of that within this video. Little chat about what's going to happen and then see how we end up at the end of all of it. So let's bring the interview up first and foremost. So you can find this in the YouTube description below. But as I say, this is conducted by Nintendo Life and the author is Gavin Lane over there. So interestingly, Yu Suzuki talks about Animal Crossing in this one, which I found quite funny, and he felt it was free, but we'll come on to that question very, very shortly. So coming down, you can see here there's a little introduction. So it talks about Yu Suzuki, who he is, his time at Sega. It notes obviously Shenmue 1 was on the Dreamcast, Shenmue 2 was, Xbox the hiatus, the Kickstarter and everything else, and obviously 3 was released in 2019. It notes here that Sega published it. That's just a small error, as we all know Deep Silver were the publishers of Shenmue 3, the original game itself. But then obviously it then talks about Shenmue 3 Enhanced and that it's basically not a total overhaul, and we know that, but it's based off of the feedback that's been given from the community and some visual enhancements as well. So this was an email interview, so it was all written, and here's his responses going through in order. So we're not going to sit on them too long. I'm not going to read them sort of word for word, but I'm going to pick out sort of main bits and pieces here. So they talk about the development of Shenmue 3 and sort of how to update it for modern game systems, but staying true to its roots. And Suzuki comes back to say that he doesn't want to make it too modern. He wanted to adjust the parts that needed it while preserving what makes Shenmue Shenmue. Meeting that expectation is difficult, obviously, and it was very challenging, I guess, to do so. There will be some out there who will, I guess, rightly in some aspects, say the game's got some archaic systems, etc. in it. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I can understand where he's coming from. Next up, they talk about crowdfunding, and obviously it worked well for Shenmue 3. And he said that obviously the Kickstarter has stretch goals, which can change the scope of the project, and also has challenges that are different from normal development. You're accountable to the backers and manage those expectations. Talks a little bit about whether they do it again, and it hasn't ruled it out, which is good, but it's something I'll pick up on in my thoughts in a bit. Then you've got a little shot here of the screenshots. I will show you proper screenshots and comparison of those very, very shortly. Asked, did 3 come very close to what you envisaged? And he said, generally yes, that they were able to convey the story, the world, and those important things for Shenmue. I will pick up on that momentarily as well. Obviously, limitations within the development with the budget and everything else, so he talks about that. He said, what tweaks are you most excited for in Shenmue 3 Enhanced? And what Yu Suzuki's come back to say is he wants to see people see the sort of visual and quality of life improvements. We've added those improvements to provide players with a much more smoother experience, such as cutscene skipping, camera settings, QT adjustments, and more besides. And hopefully it becomes easy to play, but preserving the atmosphere of the original, which I'm hoping it does. I have confidence that it probably will do. Several of the additions, sort of health restoration, full fight, QT timing, seem designed to streamline the progression, which I guess that's very true. They then ask if this is all a result of fan feedback or some of these options planned for the original version. And he says most of this was from the fans, which is great. They've listened to that. But the things like health recovery and the QTE input times are not meant to change the essence of the game, but allow players to enjoy it more comfortably all the way to the end, which, I completely understand that and I get that, and I'm glad it's there, to put it bluntly. Next up, this is interesting and something that I'm quite happy they picked up on here. This was answered through the developers at Inin rather than Suzuki himself. They ask, what resolution frame rate will Shenmue 3 target on Switch 2? Will it be locked or variable? So they come back to say the most reasonable target so far seems to be 1080p, which, given the sort of the Switch 2's capabilities, I can see that. I think you would be pushing it to get, say, 1440p or something like that based on the GPU and certainly the CPU in there. They're looking to do a variable of 60 to 120 FPS, but right now that is really pushing it, and what they're looking for is hopefully locking to 60, and I think that will, my personal opinion, would be reasonable on that. I'd be very, very happy with 1080p, great image quality, image clarity as well, but locked 60 and it performs really well. I think that would be excellent. And the resolution obviously is set at this moment, and both options for the frame rate can be easily achieved if needed. So I'm hoping they can maybe get there, certainly with the 120 mode, especially with the the screen on the Switch 2, it can do 120. You can get 120 mode within those games as well. So something that I think would be good. I hope they can do it from a technical standpoint. Obviously, the Switch 1 we know couldn't. But in terms of performance, you're going above a sort of a PlayStation 4 Pro if you're going back to those days, which would sit sort of in the 50s, if I remember correctly, from some of the analysis was done on the original Shenmue 3. Obviously, there was a lot of stuttering in there as well. So if it locks to 60 at 1080p, that outperforms the PlayStation 4 Pro, which I think could only be a good thing. Moving on, we then talk about obviously the third entry being on Switch, but obviously the first two aren't. And Yu Suzuki said, okay, Sega are positive about it. It would be absolutely great to do it. This is probably a little moment to mention there was a fan survey on this, but I'll come on to the results of that in a separate video. But I will touch on them just a tiny little bit here. But it is madness. It's not on Switch at all, the original games. I can't understand the thinking there. It goes to say that obviously Shenmue's been part of your life for 3 decades now. The fans are passionate. You created lots of iconic series, but what is it about Shenmue that inspires such devotion? And he said it's simply not a game where you follow a story, but it's an experience where you feel you're living in the world, people in the town, and all the things that we know Shenmue does really, really well. And also we have this strong affection for the series, but also because of Ryo's journey, but also because we feel like we have spent time in the world ourselves, which I think has lent a little bit, maybe being wishful here, on some of the tweets we've been putting out, which is giving those sorts of vibes to the world, leaning into those sorts of things, which I think Shenmue has always done very, very well across all 3 games for me. Next up, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm skipping here. So next up, looking at the gaming landscape now, are there any games you particularly admire? You can see Shenmue's influence. He said, when I saw Animal Crossing, I felt it was free in the sense it allowed a high degree of freedom, which was one of the concepts of Shenmue. I don't know whether it's influenced by Shenmue, but I think it's a wonderful game. Lots of people like Animal Crossing, so that's cool. This is one of the most important questions here. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the chances are we'll see more Shenmue if not in game form? Would you continue the story in other media, like in the anime, for instance? He just says yes. I'll give my thoughts on that in a bit. And then finally, there's a message. Would you like to send a message to Nintendo Life readers about this upcoming release and the future of the series? He says, I'm sincerely grateful to all readers of Nintendo Life and to everyone who continues to support Shenmue. With Shenmue 3 enhanced, we want to preserve the appeal of the original while making it easy to play and enjoyable for even more people. I would be happy if first-time players took their first steps with Ryo, and for long-time fans who have patiently waited to experience Ryo's journey once again. So that sort of tied us in. That's the interview itself. Not anything, I guess, groundbreaking in what's been said, but at the same time, some nice little nuggets there. So let's get to the points here. The crowdfunding question is interesting. He hasn't ruled this out. Now, I've been led to believe through various channels that it's something that probably isn't on the table. Has that stance changed? Maybe, just maybe, that they're more willing to consider that path again. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think a Shenmue 4 Kickstarter would be as successful as the third one. I just don't. I think there's too much that's gone on with the previous one to allow for that. But I do still think it could raise a decent amount of money with the right promotion, the right clarity around how it would work and how it's run. So I'm glad they haven't ruled it out. We've got a survey on this at the moment. The link is in the description below as well, talking about how it could run, what people would expect from it. So there's certain things that I think would be good there. He has talked about certain circumstances. Now, I don't know what that could be, whether that could be a publisher says, look, if you can raise, I don't know, 2 million on a Kickstarter, we'll give you some funding and get this game made. I don't know. But the fact that he's thinking about this is certainly interesting for me, at least, and is something that I'm quite surprised by. But there we go. Next up, the talk about Shenmue 3 itself and what they achieved with it. Now, I would agree that I think they conveyed the world very well. I think they conveyed characters as best as they could. And I certainly felt I got lost in the Shenmue 3 world, and I thought it looked beautiful. I thought the environments were fantastic. Yes, you can criticise some of the character models and all the rest of it. However, I completely disagree, and I think lots of you will. I think the vast majority of you will, in fact, that they conveyed the story that they wanted to. For me, just no. It's the number one complaint about Shenmue 3 is it didn't do enough in the story. Now, I will always say it's story execution, because what happens at the end of the game. Now, I'm not going to say anything here because I don't want to spoil anything for new time players at this point. What happens at the end of the game is quite important. It's the path to get there, the execution to get there is severely lacking. But we know this. Shenmue 4 cannot do what Shenmue 3 did in terms of story content. We need something juicy to sink our teeth into. We're not in a position where we can start messing around with all sorts of fancy technological stuff. Tell a good story, and I think you'll be there. If you don't, as I say, and I've said this again, I'm going to say it again, we will have a problem. But let's just see how we get on here. Switch 2 performance, from what they're saying, is looking quite good. As I said earlier, 1080p, locked 60, happy with that. Absolutely happy with that. If they can get to 120, even better. But I would happily sacrifice that frame rate for a locked 60, 1080p, good image clarity, and good quality there. Then coming on to, obviously, the original's coming on to Switch. This lies with Sega. The survey we did was unequivocal. 90-odd% of you were like, I would buy it. Now, it's only the Shenmue community, but it's just money left on the table here for me. I can't understand it, but that's with Sega. We are going to beat them over the head with the information that we do have. I just haven't had the time to collate that and do the graphics for it, but I am intending to do so soon. Series Future is the next big one. He does note it can continue in another game, in other formats, so media, books, anime, whatever. That's good. I'm pleased to hear that, because I think that will give us a level of reassurance that I don't think we've had for quite some time. Obviously, I think he still wants to do it in game form, and that's absolutely fine. It's his prerogative to do that, and I would prefer it in game form. But ultimately, if we're not going to get there, the fact that they are thinking, or at least acknowledge, that we could be doing this in another way, that's only going to be reassuring for the community and for myself, which is fantastic. So, leaving all that behind for a second, let's go into the screenshots. Now, there are 3 new screenshots here, but what they've done is done comparisons between Shenmue 3, the original release, and then the Shenmue 3 Enhanced. What I'm going to be doing is show the original release shot first, and then I will show Shenmue 3 Enhanced. So, popping up on the screen right now for you is the first shot. And what you've got here is a shot of Shenmue 3, the original, and you can see the Niaowu docks there. So, looks quite nice. There's nothing wrong with that image quality at all. It looks okay. However, when you then sort of go into Shenmue 3 Enhanced, you can see the increased NPC density there. I would say the image quality is looking a bit better. Looking at it, I think that some of the detailing around the pavements, the things around it, I think it jumps out for me just a tiny bit more, which is great. I'm more all for that. So again, I'm quite happy with how that's sort of come out and how that's looking. Next up here, we've got a shot of Shenmue 3, the original game, outside 2 of the Angler shops. I think that might be Sonari Road from memory, but I would have to have a look at that because I can't quite remember the location. I could be very wrong on that. You've got 2 people talking out the front. You can see the toy capsule machines on the left there. Then here you've got the same shot again, obviously from Shenmue 3 Enhanced. Again, the lighting quality is definitely improved for me. You can see sort of around the shop signage, that lighting looks much better, looks more detailed. The clarity again and the detailing of the environments is again looking very good. Those visual enhancements I think are coming through for me, which is fantastic. So I'm glad to see that working. Yes, I know people say these are minor things, and I understand that, but this is still an improvement. I'm very happy that they've done this. Then the last shot, you've got the temple just up from the Safe Shenmue building. This is obviously the shot from Shenmue 3, and it's a beautiful shot actually. What I've noticed with this is the darker areas feel a bit darker, they're a bit more crushed in the look. Whereas when you compare that to Shenmue 3 Enhanced, you can see the trees around the temple are a bit brighter, and I quite like that. Again, the lighting is improved here, the clarity of the temple is improved, and I just like the overall look of it. I think for me, it just stands out a little bit more, and I'm quite happy that they've taken that stance on it. And obviously the nighttime sky looks fantastic as well, and it's a beautiful screenshot. I'd love 4K versions of these, but I don't know if we're going to get them or not. So those are our screenshots. Hopefully you sort of had a look and enjoyed those. We will obviously put them on the website when we get a moment, but sort of final thoughts on this. I'm really pleased we've got something from WiseNet. We needed this little boost, I think, within the community. It's been a while since we've had anything from WiseNet directly, so this is great. Soon we'll talk about Shenmue 3 Enhanced. It's fantastic. So clearly, or I'm hoping at least, that the media push around this game is going to start seeing, pushing up now. We're going to start seeing more interviews with Yu Suzuki and promotion around this game. And also for me, the reassurance around the future of the series. Yes, it is broad, and I accept that. It's always going to be a good thing. So we're going to leave things there, guys. Obviously, let me know if I've missed anything you want to bring up, pop it in the comments below, guys, and I'll pick those up. But for now, guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the usual places you can find us. A couple of £1 a month, be a member, and get all videos like this ahead of time. But for now, guys, take it easy, and I'll see you soon.